Have you ever looked at a penny and wondered if it could be worth more than just 1 cent? What if I told you that a coin sitting quietly in your pocket change could be a hidden treasure from the past? Today, we dive deep into the fascinating story of the 1984 Liberty 1 cent coin, a small copper-plated mystery with a rich backstory and surprising value. From minting details to historical significance and current collector demand, this is the coin that might just change how you look at your change forever. The year is 1984. Ronald Reagan is president, the Cold War is still simmering, and in the world of American coinage, something quite routine, but quietly historic, is happening at the Denver Mint. Millions of pennies are being struck, each bearing the iconic face of Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of unity and resilience. The 1984 Liberty 1 cent coin, commonly known as the Lincoln penny, is part of a coin lineage that dates back to 1909. That's when Victor David Brenner's portrait of President Lincoln first appeared on the obverse, replacing the Indian head cent. It was the first time a U.S. president's image was used on a regular issue American coin. On the obverse, or front of the coin, we see Lincoln in a profile view. Above his head, the word liberty stands proud, a reminder of America's core values. The date 1984 is struck clearly to the right, and just beneath it sits the D Mint mark, indicating it was minted at the Denver Mint. Flip it over, and you'll see the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. From 1959 until 2008, this design featured the majestic columns of the memorial in Washington, D.C., with Lincoln's statue faintly visible inside if you look closely. The inscriptions read United States of America along the top, and the national motto, E Pluribus Unum, just above the memorial. At the bottom, it says 1 cent, but as you'll soon learn, this coin could be worth far more than that. In 1982, the U.S. Mint transitioned from using solid bronze to a copper-plated zinc composition. That change carried into the 1984 penny, which is made of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating. This change was done to reduce costs, as copper prices were climbing. As for the Denver Mint, it produced a massive number of these coins. Over 5.5 billion 1984 pennies were struck. That makes it one of the more common coins in circulation, but as collectors know, quantity doesn't always mean lack of value. The story behind these coins is more than just numbers. It's about the errors, the condition, and the demand from a growing numismatic community. Now, if you found a 1984 penny in your change jar, its face value is of course 1 cent. In everyday circulation, most of these coins still hold that same basic value due to the high mintage. However, collectors often look beyond face value to assess a coin's condition, rarity, and potential errors. Here's where it gets interesting. There are known error varieties and minting quirks that make some of these coins incredibly valuable. One of the most talked about errors from 1984 is the doubled ear variety, though that one is mainly associated with the Philadelphia Mint, 1984 without a mint mark. But 1984 pennies have also shown up with off-center strikes, broad strikes, and die cracks, which can increase their value dramatically. A worn, circulated 1984 penny might only fetch between 1 and 5 cents, depending on its condition. But a pristine, mint-state example? That's a whole different story. A coin in MS-60 to MS-63 condition, that's mint state, with only minor flaws, can be worth 25 cents to $1 to the right collector. Not bad for a coin you might find in your couch cushions. Now, if you're lucky enough to find a 1984 D penny in MS65 or higher, with strong luster, no contact marks, and well-defined details, you're looking at a coin that could sell for $5 to $10. And that's just the beginning. In red RD designation, which means it retains its original, brilliant red mint luster. Values increase further. Certified examples graded MS66RD or MS67RD have been known to sell for $50 to $250 or more, especially if the coin is slabbed and authenticated by a top-tier grading company like PCGS or NGC. And if you find a rare error version in pristine condition, it could go for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the severity and uniqueness of the mistake. First, check its condition. Use a magnifying glass and good lighting. Look for clear details, minimal wear, and any signs of doubling or error. Next, check for color. If it still glows with that bright red copper shine, you might have a higher grade specimen on your hands. And finally, consider submitting it for grading if it looks promising. That 1-cent coin might just become a mini jackpot in your collection, or a piece of American history to pass down. This is why coin collecting remains such a thrilling and timeless hobby. It's a treasure hunt hiding in plain sight. The 1984 D Liberty 1-cent coin may seem ordinary, but behind its coppery glow lies a story of American tradition, craftsmanship, and hidden value. It's a reminder that sometimes the smallest things can hold the greatest worth. If you enjoyed this journey into numismatic history, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. Have you found any 1984 D pennies in your change? Let us know. Until next time, keep collecting, keep exploring, and never underestimate the power of a single cent. Would you like me to create a shorter TikTok-style version, or break this into chapters for a YouTube video with timestamps? The 1989 Liberty 1-cent coin, commonly referred to as a Lincoln penny, is more than just loose change you find in your couch cushions. It's part of a legacy that spans over a century. This penny was minted in the United States and features the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president and one of the most respected figures in American history. The obverse, or front side of the coin, showcases the right-facing bust of Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, can be seen on the cutoff of Lincoln's shoulder. Above Lincoln's head is the word liberty, a reminder of the core American value. To the right, you'll see the date, 1989. On the reverse, or back side, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, also designed by Frank Gasparo. If you look closely, you can even spot a tiny figure of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a truly intricate detail for such a small coin. Above the memorial reads United States of America, and below it, the words 1 cent. Just above the building, it reads E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many, one. To truly appreciate the 1989 Liberty penny, we need to travel back in time. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, breaking the tradition of using symbolic figures like Lady Liberty. This was a huge moment in American numismatics and a bold move by then-President Theodore Roosevelt. Fast forward to 1989, the world was undergoing major changes. The Cold War was nearing its end, the Berlin Wall would fall by the end of the year, and technology was evolving rapidly. Amidst all these transformations, the United States Mint continued its long tradition of producing the Lincoln cent. By 1989, the composition of the penny had already changed. From 1909 to 1982, pennies were mostly made of 95% copper. But due to rising metal costs, the U.S. Mint switched the composition in mid-1982 to a primarily zinc core with a thin copper plating, the same type used in the 1989 penny. This switch saved millions of dollars but also slightly changed the weight and feel of the coin. Over 7.2 billion pennies were struck in 1989 from multiple U.S. Mint facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The most common ones are from Philadelphia and Denver, and you can identify the mint by looking at the small letter near the date, a D for Denver and no letter for Philadelphia. The 1989 penny was a workhorse of American commerce. It was used in grocery stores, vending machines, payphones, parking meters, you name it. These coins passed through millions of hands, carried stories of everyday life, and witnessed moments both big and small. In terms of circulation, the 1989 penny had a face value of just 1 cent, of course, but its purchasing power was a bit different than today. Back then, a penny could still add up to something meaningful: bubble gum, small candies, or even contribute to a quick phone call if you had enough of them. Today, these coins are still commonly found in circulation. While many people overlook them, for coin collectors and history buffs, they're an inexpensive yet meaningful piece of American heritage. They're often the first coin new collectors start with, making them a gateway into the exciting world of numismatics. In circulated condition, these pennies typically hold only their face value, 1 cent. They're so common that billions are still floating around. However, the story changes when you find one in uncirculated or mint state condition. A 1989 penny in MS65 condition, that's mint state 65 on the Sheldon scale, can be worth around 30 cents to $1 depending on the market. Not a fortune, but still more than its face value. If you're lucky enough to find a proof coin from the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S, it could fetch $2 to $5 or more depending on clarity and luster. And here's where things get really interesting. Some 1989 pennies have errors or variations that make them much more valuable. These include off-center strikes, doubled dies, clipped planchets, and wrong planchet errors. Depending on the severity and rarity of the error, these coins can sell for $50, $100, or even several $100s at auction. In 2021, a 1989 D penny with an off-center error in near-perfect condition sold for over $300 at auction. Not bad for a single cent, so always check your pocket change. You never know what hidden treasures lie in your hand. Here are a few fun facts about the 1989 penny and the Lincoln cent series. The Lincoln cent is the longest-running coin design in U.S. history. The initials VDB were removed shortly after the 1909 release due to controversy but were restored in 1918 in a less prominent position. If you stacked all the 1989 pennies ever minted, they would reach the moon and back, several times. Despite its low value, it costs the U.S. Mint more than 1 cent to produce each penny, sparking debates about whether to discontinue it. And get this, many Americans have thrown away or ignored pennies, thinking they're worthless. But collectors around the world treasure them, especially well-preserved or rare examples. So, The next time you spot a 1989 Liberty 1-cent coin, don't just toss it aside. Hold it up, give it a look, and remember, you're holding a piece of living history. From its humble beginnings as a tribute to Abraham Lincoln, to the billions minted during a transformative year in world history, the 1989 penny is more than just pocket change. It's a symbol of endurance, of American ideals, and of the stories that connect us all. If you enjoyed this journey through time and copper, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more fascinating coin stories. And let us know in the comments, what's the oldest or most interesting coin you've ever found? Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep collecting and keep discovering.